Welcome back to the Tedosive EV podcast, ladies and gentlemen. We're all finally back. It's been a whirlwind.
I don't like
Only
it.
took a month.
I don't like it.
You don't
I
like?
don't like this.
We've been here for 5 seconds, Randy.
Nah, I don't like it.
me. That's what it is.
I don't. Whatever this is, this angling. If you're watching on YouTube, all of this. I don't like it.
Here, how do we? Is that better?
Welcome back to the Randy Vasquez EV podcast, everybody.
For audio
Beautiful.
listeners, Randy has become the largest panel in the video.
I have now
portion of the
become
podcast.
death, the destroyer of worlds.
He's also Oppenheimer, apparently.
Mhm.
We knew the world would not be the same. All right. Anyway, good EV talk, everybody. Wow. So, for anybody curious about this, Drew went from just doing a sit down with his family and, picking a brain. And there was so much good info in it. He's like, nope, it's too long now at this point. So there was no EV podcast technically, but there was one technically. I see what you mean, though, Drew, about the whole not being blinded by knowledge or being plagued with knowledge. There was an innocence about him I was thoroughly enjoying. I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah, I wish you both could meet him. It'd be a lot of fun.
Is he not in your area or whatever?
No, he is, but you aren't. That's the bigger problem.
Eventually, it's inevitable.
I'm waiting for you to take me down to see Aptera, Drew. I'm waiting for the invitation.
Oh, that would be fun, but then you wouldn't get to meet cousin Matt.
Is he here right now?
I would.
Oh,
Is
you're
he
talking
in the
about
room?
Matt. I'm thinking about the previous podcast that we also were not on, or at least I wasn't. It's been
Is
too
cousin
long.
Matt
like
in the
3
room
weeks.
with us right now?
Forsooth.
All right. Forsooth.
But
Man, what do we? There's so much a bunch of little things I want to talk about. It's hard for me to pick one. So
this can be ketchup and Mike can be mustard for
okay.
Because I'm wearing
Jesus.
Compass Yellow.
Yeah.
That was terrible. That was disgusting. Oh, here we go.
Yes, it
Quickie.
was.
Here's a quick news. My wife saw for the first time out in the wild, for her the very first time. I think I've seen one before, but she saw a Ford Lightning.
Oh,
Really? I'm
For the first
surprised it took that long.
Yeah, especially here. But she was
They're all over the place here.
she called me and she goes, "Listen, maybe you want to put this on your podcast. I don't know, but I do not like that thing."
I didn't want to put this on the podcast. I
And
hate it.
she goes, "The Ford Lightning is the EV version of Android."
Wow.
And I was like,
I'm trying to figure out what she means by
hardware. Well, the last Android phone she had was a Galaxy S2. But what she meant was the front. She goes, the front, the fake grill, all that plastic, it looks so cheap. She's like, I don't like it at all. I'm like, what about we have a front that she goes, no, it doesn't look the same. Like that part of the grill that's not really the grill just looks cheap. I was like, oh, okay. So she was like, I don't like it. I'm like, okay. What do you think about the Mustang? She goes, oh no, the Mach-E looks nice. And I was like, yeah, it does. look
Okay,
nice.
we agree there. I still
Yeah.
think the Mach-E is one of the better looking crossovers for sure.
Evidently, Mach-E is more popular in my IRL circle of people that I know, because I know now 3 people within the last year who have bought or leased or something to a degree having a Mach-E now, and they're
Wow.
loving it.
Good.
And I'm like, and they would ask me, it's like, hey, what do you like about the Model Y? What do you like about that? And I would, they would see me. I would go to their house.
You
and
say
do this.
nothing.
Don't
No,
call it.
I would be honest. I'd be like, listen, it has longevity. We know what the battery health can look like over time, and I trust Tesla battery cells. I trust the build quality. I do not have quality control issues. I went through the whole spiel, and they're like, oh, that's awesome, yeah, because we're thinking about it. And so I'm like, yeah, man, hey, listen, do or don't use my referral or don't. I really don't care. Just I'm glad you're going to EVs in general. And then 3 months go by, hear nothing, and now we're living out here. And then they just sent us a photo of the Mach-E, and I'm like, what? And they're like, yep, I love it. It replaced my Mini Cooper.
Wow, quite a transition.
Yeah. I was like, I like this for multiple reasons, but why did you ask me about Tesla? And they're like, well, we weren't sure yet. And I'm like, all right, good for you. I mean, as long as
I took everything you said, and then I saw what Elon tweeted, and I bought.
and I did nothing about it. I took everything you said, and I said we're gonna throw that all out the window. Years of knowledge for naught. So gave me that imposter syndrome again. I was like, man, I suck. But no, they're happy with it. So all that to say that like I don't see myself having a Mach E, but if I ever were to explore other vehicle options, like as in today, right now, that I can get my hands on, it's affordable enough. I'd be open-minded to it, I guess. Affordable, but I don't know. I maybe a Model 3 was just the way it should be. I don't know. Anyway, that's my quick news update. There you go. Wife hates Ford Lightning, doesn't mind the Mach-E.
Okay.
In the same vein, I got to actually drive some of my coworkers in my Model Y today when we were going out to lunch to celebrate one of them who's departing, going on to greener pastures and all that. And so a couple of them rode with me to a nearby restaurant, and a lot of them had not been in Teslas. So it was very entertaining for myself and for them when I gunned it safely down a empty street, along with taking some turns a little bit harder, but just showing that this thing has a lot of sporty feel to it, even though it looks like a crossover. And then what was the other? Oh, I activated full self-driving, and that was pretty entertaining to watch. Maybe I wasn't watching them, but hearing them and their reactions to it, navigating around construction cones and everything else. It was nice and refreshing to hear because I live with it daily, but they don't. And a lot of them don't really know too much about electric cars. So it was a great day today with the Model Y.
Awesome.
That's cool.
That's nice to hear.
I guess the other thing that I haven't gotten to mention since I've been on the EV podcast in like 3 weeks is I got to check out a new EV that's coming to the market later this year.
I really hope you weren't going to do a guessing game because I just showed it. Cut to your screen.
No, it's fine.
Guess what it is. Let's ask Randy. Do you know what that is?
That's a Polestar.
What?
Yeah, don't mind the name on the top left.
A Polestar.
I'm not wearing my glasses. I have no idea what you're pointing at.
That's not even the right.
Right. Hang on.
That's not even the answer.
That's not a Polestar?
No, I'm saying it's a Polestar what? It'd be like me showing you a picture of Mike's car and you saying that's a Tesla. I know what that is.
Is that the Polestar 4?
It is the Polestar 4.
Wow.
Woo!
Yes.
Suck it, Drew.
I'm impressed.
I just put my eyes on.
Actually, here. I got a little video for it.
Ooh.
But
hey, you don't know what I'm about, Drew. You don't. For all you know, I've been looking at Polestars religiously. You know, Polestar, Volvo, same but different.
So this one, I think, is going to be Polestar's bread and butter for a very, very long time. The way that I didn't jot down the notes because I got to talk with the general manager at this location.
The GM.
It's the same location that you and I got to go to, Drew, to check out the Polestar 3, which was also there. It still was in the same position.
Spot.
So they had the 4 at the front of the store, the 3 in the middle of the store, and then the 2 in the back of the store. They had refreshments and all that. I got invited to this event, by the way. So it was a
nice little. You get invites to these things? I swear, you forward them to me. You're like, hey, I got invited. I'm like, how did you?
I actually might miss another Polestar event that's coming up on Friday. Unfortunately, the Polestar 6 is going to be here in the Bay. On Friday. So that's going to be really cool.
Where? We have to go. I need to see the 6.
Now he cares.
I'll send you a link later, but it's going to be race. Okay, it's the race edition version of the Polestar 6 that is supposed to be tuned up to be very sporty. I don't know the specs on it, but
almost as fast as Randy's car.
The issue is it's very far north. It's like in the Napa area. And so it's a bit of a drive for me since I'm more located in the Southern Bay Area location. But
for those who don't know what the Polestar 6 looks like.
So that's the O2 concept that has a drone that flies out of it, in which I don't know if that's still happening. I know that Bentley is actually supposed to have a drone that's flying out of their car possibly in the future due to a patent. But
I'm in favor of droning all the things instead of AI all the things.
Oh my gosh.
There's a drone now.
Anyways, so I got to check out the Polestar 4. I got invited out to this launch event. And what was really pleasant for me is just how smooth the interface was, in which I'm showing off on the video portion of the podcast right now.
Was that Apple Music that I just saw?
I believe so.
That looked like Apple Music.
That looks really clean, like the split screen thing.
Yeah, it's so clean. It looked like it was a
if you missed it, you can
shipping.
change whatever partition it is for the maps and the media controls.
Dude, wait for it. Yeah, that looks like optical illusion. It looks like a cube that's shifting sides. That's how I see it.
But yeah, you can full size the map and everything.
Car.
So for, I guess, to describe a little bit more of what we're looking at, the Polestar 4 does not have a vertical display like the 3 and 2. It's a horizontal display.
Thank God.
Good.
And yeah, right. And it's a decent size. I would say it's maybe equal or a little bit smaller than the Model 3 and Model Y screen size.
Okay.
But does it have CarPlay?
Yes, it has CarPlay. It's
Say
even
less.
got a couple places to plug in your phone or I think one place
Next gen CarPlay.
wireless to charge it. What they're really touting with this vehicle is that there's cameras all over it, and in which what was really interesting to me is that the general manager kept on saying it's full self-driving capable. And so I was wondering, are they partnering with Tesla? And so I talked with him about it. He said, no. That's just what people know as a self-driving system is full self-driving. So
I'd be careful with the wording there.
I agree. So I was a little bit concerned and confused with it, but knowing that it's their own package, and he, of course, being the salesman, was touting that it's ready to go. It's just laws and responsibility on the company for.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
I know, right?
It's like that's one part of Tesla you should not copy.
Right. Other things to note is
look at those seat belts.
The back seats are motorized, and then the middle armrest also can come down and deploy cup holders out the front of it, and then also has a little bit of storage underneath.
What do you mean by motorized?
Seats?
The back seats are motorized, so there is a button on the side, and either the two people on the right, or I guess middle and right, or the one person on the left can choose whether you're more upright or leaning back a little bit. Think like the Model Y, where you can change the angle of the seat with the latch over your shoulder.
Except this one's more customizable, I'm guessing.
Yes, because it's on a motor and all that. You can change whichever angle that you want. That's just that precise for whatever you want. But the inside felt very nice. It wasn't too crazy, I guess. Well, it was and wasn't. Looking out the back of the car, and there isn't a back glass windscreen or anything like that, because this is the one that has the body panel on the back.
What the hell is even that? Why is it so small? What the hell is even that?
Seeing the frunk.
Why is it so small?
It is kind of small. I think a lot of electronics and everything else is fitting. And they also have a decent size hatch, but I feel like it could have been a little bit bigger.
Ventilated seats, Mike? Yes or no?
I'd have to look again, but in the back, no. In the front, yes.
I'm talking about the front. I would never ride in the back.
I believe yes.
Please,
they can cook back there. That's fine.
Screw them.
Yeah. So it was a pretty comprehensive package. It's got the mood lighting. The coloring was great. Like you noted earlier, the seatbelts were very stark compared to the rest of the vehicle, because it's a yellowish color while everything else is blacks and grays. But I like the accent. Otherwise, it felt like a really great product. That what's really weird is looking at all of them in a line and comparing the height of them to me. This is a conversation that we had after. Yeah, wonderful photos of me just being like, I am standing next to the car.
I want to give you a hug. You look sad.
I look like some high school student who's like,
you look like Peter Parker from Spider-Man 3. I'm gonna rub some dirt in
To
your
be
eye.
fair, this was right after work. I had a busy day that day.
I could tell.
And
That right
all the
there. That's
life-
your new profile pic.
all the life drained
Boy.
out of me. I don't have social media anymore, really. So
We need to
Like
get you
that.
back on the podcast more often. This isn't good.
Yeah.
But-
He's like, all this stuff, and I have no one to share it with. Dead face.
So the Polestar 4, as you can tell in these photos, is a little bit taller than the Polestar 2 compared to my
Okay.
shoulder height, but a little bit
Mhm.
shorter than the Polestar 3. And after talking with the general manager there, it seems like this is what's going to replace the Polestar 2 because they've got a lot of manufacturing, maybe not issues, but barriers that they're facing with the Polestar 2, and they kind of want to retire the product at this point. And so it seems like the Polestar 4 is going to take the place of the Polestar 3, and they're going to be like Volvo in the way of we only have crossovers, but this thing is short enough to where it doesn't really feel like a crossover SUV. It feels more like a sedan when you're in it and when you're walking around it. So it gives more of that illusion that, yeah, we're calling it a crossover, but it's bigger than a sedan. So it's somehow in between that, or it's in that gray area of what defines a sedan and what defines a crossover. I'm going to just hammer that 5 more times. But otherwise, it's a very beautiful car. If there was one Polestar I had to get that is coming on the market in the next couple of years, it'd probably be this one.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't hear them mention that they wanted to kind of phase out the Polestar 2, but that explains the lineup. I think cleans it up a little bit better. Is if you don't look at the numbers as necessarily new models, like don't look at it as Polestar 1 is the Roadster, Polestar 2 is the 3, but instead look at it as like sequels or release timelines. So the Polestar 1 came out first, they don't make that anymore. Then they released the Polestar 2. Now in the future they may not make that anymore to replace it with the
It's a generational thing.
4.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 3 is coming out now, 4 comes out a little bit later, but unlike the 3, I would say the prices are a lot closer to being reasonable.
Right. I think this is something that is a lot more stomachable than a lot of other crossovers that are coming out on the market that are touting luxury, but have luxury pricing of around $70,000 plus, where this thing starts around 56. And that's for, I think
it's a long range
single motor rear wheel drive.
Mm-hmm.
And it has amazing colors, by the way. The gold is probably the best color in that whole lineup, in my opinion.
Oh, wow.
I am a sucker for gold on vehicles. Not because
it looks like the gold that's on the elites for the Covenant. That's that type of gold.
I feel like that's a little bit more yellow compared to this more metallic silverish hue of gold.
Anyway,
so this is a
they're
luxury
proud of
vehicle?
that button.
Yeah. So is this what?
Is this a luxury vehicle?
It touts luxury, but the price is something that I think
depends on your definition, I'd say.
Right. What are you looking for? Like, are you looking for massaging seats and all that? It doesn't got it. Are you looking for
ventilated seats?
Yeah, I
think it
does have ventilated seats.
I think $30,000 Tesla that has ventilated seats is a luxury vehicle.
Mike, I'm sorry, but look at this. Napa upgrade includes ventilation, massage, and front headrest speakers.
Well, there you go. So it has massage and headrest speakers. So you can actually, it is tipping into more of a luxury type vehicle, but you don't have to start at a price that's audacious, in my opinion.
I'm upset you got me onto this now.
It's a great vehicle. We sat in the Polestar 2 and 3 together, Drew, when you visited, I think last. And sitting in them, I wasn't really sold on either of them. I wasn't really too excited about it, but the Polestar 6 was still pretty much the golden tier of Polestar that I was waiting for. Oh, yeah. This changed my mind. This made me think, okay, Polestar has something that is going to grasp audiences, and it's really going to be something that puts them on the market. Now I remember. So for the other two, this is another thing that the general manager was discussing, is that the Polestar 1 was based off of a Volvo S70, which is a sedan that Volvo made. And then the platform that the Polestar 2 is on is also the same platform that the XC40, their compact crossover, is on. And this is something that you and I were trying to figure out, Drew, when we checked out the Polestar 2, because it has that drivetrain tunnel or that transmission tunnel or whatever.
Yeah.
And we're like, why is this in here? It's an EV.
What the hell
But
is even that?
yeah, we couldn't figure out what it was. I got
chill.
out of it was sharing the same platform in a lot of pieces as the Polestar, or sorry, the Volvo XC40. For the Polestar 3, though it was a more bespoke design from Polestar, it was a stakeholder in that design was Volvo, because they wanted to share that platform for the EX90 that's coming out also later this year. Their big SUV. And so they're very excited about the Polestar 4 because no one is sharing this chassis, design, anything else. It's all theirs. They can do whatever they want. No one's telling them what they can and cannot do besides their own people for manufacturing or design reasons. So this is something that they're happy and excited about, and it's definitely a bigger change compared to what they've got in the 3 and the 2. And that's probably why I fell a little bit more in love with them and the brand. Not just because I got a free hat out of it, which I'm wearing right now.
What? Oh, I would love him for that forever. Yeah, boy.
Give it to me.
What?
Give it to me.
So otherwise, I think this is
You will make a fine addition to my collection.
Yeah. Since people are loving the crossover market, I think this is going to be something that people are going to love because it's got space. It doesn't have a back glass, but I think people can get used to that with the camera system that they've got. They've got too many cameras on this thing where I don't think it's going to be an issue for blind spots for both sensing things around them, and they've got radar.
I'm so ready for no rear. I mean, on most Teslas, the rear back glass is so hard to see out of anyway.
Mm-hmm.
The Model 3 probably has the most visibility out of all the ones I've driven. The Cybertruck is basically none when the vault is closed. And then in the Model Y, it's a very narrow window. And then the Model S, it's pretty narrow as well. Model X has a spoiler going through it. So yeah, I'm all in favor of bring on the cameras for the rear. But yeah, I think to kind of address somewhat of Randy's question, I don't think it's a direct competitor with the Model Y just because of the pricing.
Yeah, that's something that I asked as well.
It's a notch above Y.
What is this competing with? And what they, I think they're punching a little bit high with this statement because both sales associates said this. Both one sales associate and the other one was the manager. They say that this is competing against the Macan, the Porsche Macan. Their target is Porsche with this vehicle.
Okay.
Now with that price tag,
the price tag is much lower, but they do offer.
What does a Macan cost?
I'd have to look at it again. It's probably around the 70,000.
I was going to say
is pretty.
You might be right.
This is pretty close. I mean, it may be lower, but I'm guessing it's not that much lower. But I'm a little surprised it's not more efficient. If I'm being
Porsche
honest.
Macan starts at 62,900.
Never mind.
That's almost exactly what their all-wheel drive, 62,900. But I'm a little surprised that. Well, one thing I like, I don't exactly know if this is gross or net, but the Polestars put the battery pack capacity right at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm able to check it really quick. I didn't even have to go to tech specs. I'm like, okay, it's 100 kilowatt hour pack, and they're saying up to 300 miles of range, and I'm like, really?
111. It's 111 kilowatt hour, I believe.
I thought that was the 3.
Maybe I'm reading the wrong thing.
Because I went right here, see, on the site.
Oh, maybe so. I do have a photo of it somewhere. I don't have it on my screen right now, but I did take a photo/video of. Oh, well, there's one.
Is that actually on the car or is that just on the website?
It's on the car.
It's on the
I've got
car.
it right here on my
That's
screen.
so tacky.
No, it's beautiful.
No, it's not. Don't lie.
I love it. It's very.
Come on, Randy. Would
trash.
you rather have the battery pack capacity or a logo of 3 wolves?
No, neither. Clean it. Just clean it out. Neither of
Clean it.
them. That's. I don't
What are
want.
you talking about?
I don't want text on my car.
Teslas ship with text on the back of their cars now, both in the middle and on the bottom right, if you get a specific trim.
That's why I
not
don't
mine,
have. That's
though.
why I don't have any of the new ones.
You both have text on your cars, except me.
Yeah, but I don't like it. But it doesn't tell you like. It doesn't give you. It doesn't give you like spec stuff. It just tells you how many motors.
Is that not a spec?
Configuration. That's not a configuration. That's a text spec.
For comparison, this is also
I can't unsee it. All I see is the text right now.
comparing this to probably electric Porsche Macan. That starts at around 78,800. So this is definitely coming in at a steal if you're wanting a base version of the Polestar 4.
Yeah.
Most people will not want, or let me rephrase, will not get this car as their first EV. Most people, this is not a, this doesn't help the acceleration of the transition to EVs. It's cool, but not this. You need that Mustang, Chevy Bolt Model 3. You need something as low as possible to help get people that needs to be their gateway vehicle to then maybe eventually get a Polestar or something obnoxious with pricing range. But for a transit, the Polestar right now does not sell or convince a skeptic about like it's so expensive and then this and then that. There's this constant back and forth with why should I get an EV right now when they're so much more expensive? You wouldn't show them a Polestar. You would show them. Well, I would show them a used Model 3 or after here in Colorado. I mean, we have the best tax incentives throughout the whole country. I would be like, hey, here's what it is post tax incentives and rebates and stuff like that.
Step one, move to Colorado.
Step two. But you know what really bites you in the butt? Registration is very expensive out here. But anyway,
they sold 10,000 Polestar 2s last year, Randy.
Yep, 10,000 is
which is low, but
it is low.
That was their first vehicle.
Mike, since you're doing it and you're right there, pull up Polestar compared to do Mach 3 since we already talked about Mach 3. Compare the cells of the two. What I say, Mach 3?
You said Mach 3.
Sorry.
There's
feedback
that
on
fast with my car.
Look how clean that is.
Drew? Oh yeah.
I like
it's a very good. It's a very good looking car. I think that's a very sexy car.
I didn't realize they had massaging seats in the 4. I thought that was a 3 feature.
All of a sudden, I want to splurge a little. You know, can I sell like a fraction of my home and use that to buy a massaged chair Polestar 4 or something? You know, like
to answer you, Randy, the
yes,
the Ford Mach-E sold 40,771 units in 2023.
And the price difference is what? 25,000 different, right?
There's a lot of trim differences.
Yeah, I know. So let's get the cheapest of both.
42,000.
42,000 different. Okay.
Well, no, $42,000 is the starting price.
Okay, I got you.
So it's $10,000 difference,
but
that was in
too.
2023.
Okay, so maybe
2024.
the Bolt, but the Bolt didn't sell that well.
Why are you? So I guess why are you trying to put Polestar in a lower echelon price bracket when that's not what they're
doing? What I'm trying to do is make present the statement that like it's not. This is a toy.
No, this is a car, Randy.
Yeah, it's boys with toys. This doesn't help my headspace of being of transitioning to EVs as a society. This vehicle does not move the goalpost at all.
Well, it's the Blazer effect. It's just another.
I hate when you guys say that. That rubs me. So I don't like hearing that.
I would argue
that's what people are buying.
Because Polestar is kind of an offshoot. Like, why not let the Volvo EX30 be their entry? That's their Bolt. No, it's like if you're looking for the one that's meant to convince like budget-minded people to switch to an EV, let Volvo do that. Polestar is trying to be a bit more of a premium brand. I think that's like
the Lucid or the Model S.
The Polestar was never meant to be the consumer-friendly brand. When you got the Polestar brand on Volvo, that
Right.
was the higher echelon tier of.
It's the Lexus to the Toyota. I understand. It's the Lincoln to the Ford. I
Yeah.
hear what you're saying. My I guess my thing is that, like, to go back to that what you were just saying, Drew. Maybe with the Volvo, but that car isn't out yet, and
It is
the
not
but
here, but it's
well,
out.
no, I'm talking about here. I see the analytics. We don't have many Euro listeners. I'm joking, guys. I'm joking. Don't.
I haven't
I'm
seen
joking.
actually. I'm gonna.
So, what I'm looking for is what is the okay? Let me pose it like this: what's the best gateway vehicle to get people into this whole world of EVs? If the Honda Civic is the cheap equivalent for an ICE vehicle, what's the EV's Honda Civic? And I'm just not talking about price. Like what is something that can actually move numbers? Is it as simple as just saying it's a Tesla? Like get a Model 3 or something?
I'd say used Model 3 is basically
Yeah,
the
or
closest
Model
thing.
S.
Is it because they were just really more or less first to market? Like why did the
would just
Leaf
say,
not work out? You know what I mean?
People didn't want to buy the Leaf.
No DC fast charging, not a
Okay.
very good battery management system.
Wasn't
so
appealing as a
the battery
visual
degraded.
product.
They stayed with CHAdeMO for way too long. So as far as like what moves the needle, I don't think the Leaf moved it much because not a lot of people wanted it. Whereas at least you could say with a Model 3, it's pretty consumer friendly with NACS. And
Was the
supercharger
Model
network.
3 the tipping point, or was it a Model S? Like in that sense, if we're looking at the timeline,
There's many tipping points. I would say the
you could
three's
say
a
the
bigger
Model
one.
Y. You know, look at the stock price after Model Y. Everyone would say that's when it was the tipping point. At least that's when they took them seriously.
Yeah, no, I don't think this is like one car changes everybody's minds, but I do think that as far as
No, but
the EV
who's your
market is
poster
concerned,
child, right? Like who's the car that you put out there to represent the whole community of the EV transition? If we had to go make our case to anyone and everyone, and maybe it's a tall order and it's hard to fulfill that because some people are like, I'm never not gonna have a truck, and so maybe for them it's like I don't care what you show me because I need and want a truck. But I would say the 4 Lightning wouldn't be the optimal one. But right now, Cybertruck wouldn't be either. It's too expensive. So how do you make the case? If we had to put one car up to be like, this is our mascot, go do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as I'm saying it to myself, I hear it in my head. I'm saying Model 3. I think I would say Model 3. And everything else is kind of, not that it's distracting. If anything, I like that there's more cars coming out because look at all these transitioned vehicles or new startups or whatever the case may be. Look how vibrant and saturated this sector can become and is becoming. But people always push back with the pricing or the range or the whatever. And like there's gotta be a you know, an ace in the hand. Is that the term? A trump card? Like there's got to be one. Boom! Everything that you're saying is not working. This solves it.
Well, something that impresses me with the Polestar 4, at least, is that it's coming in $4,000 more than what the Polestar 2 costs today, and yet it's offering so much more in terms of options and capability, and yet it's going to be the future for at least their company. It's still coming in at a price that people are already paying for something that is a sedan, which isn't selling well on the market. So for something that is a crossover that people are buying over and over again, that's what Americans are buying. That's what we love. That's what we care about. No one cares about sedans anymore.
Mike,
and so
did you touch up your fingernails?
No, I didn't. They're still the same. Nice try. I love that you keep on bringing this up.
They're so distracting. They're bright.
If you want to know more, listen to last week's tech podcast.
Oh, is that on tech? We'll bring it up on tech.
You brought it up on EV. So anyways.
He's got the Lucid Sapphire fingernails.
My point is this company's trying to carve their lane in this EV transition, or at least in this EV market. I think this is a pretty good product to carve their way because a sedan we've already seen from Lucid, that's a luxury EV, isn't selling well, and it's already really high price. And so Polestar probably saw that with the Polestar 2, and they're seeing all these crossover SUVs being bought out by the masses from Ford, Tesla, GM,
Right.
everyone. And so they're looking at this piece of the pie and they want a slice. And so they're offering something that is very competitive in price and features.
So they're competing with Lucid.
No,
Lucid's not really in that segment yet.
not in that price bracket, nor that, well, the next vehicle that they're coming out with is a big SUV. And this is a whole lot smaller from what I can tell from seeing both of them in person.
Whew.
So it might be hard to understand, but at least they have to make something, and they're not going to make something that no one's buying right now.
No, I get that. I would like to see a nice hatchback, like a not the way it's designed on the Model Y, but like an actual flat hatchback. I think I would like to see more of those in existence, which I think it's a Europe thing, if I remember correctly. I think I saw a lot of hatchbacks in Europe. I would like to see
EX30 is what you're describing.
Am I?
Pretty much.
I don't remember. Well, I'm not trying to. I'm thinking like what was that Volkswagen car that was it was a hatchback. I remember being a hatchback. My friend had
The
it.
Golf?
I think it was the Golf, the e-Golf. Like I think I would like to see more hatchbacks. Like if you're not gonna have a big old SUV or SUV kin, you should have. I mean, yeah. I'm thinking something smaller. I'm thinking something like
This is
a
pretty
Mini
small.
Cooper. Yeah, I guess. But like I think Mini Cooper hatchback like that.
This is 166 inches long.
Yeah. Give me the Tello version of a hatchback. I want that.
Well, not everybody can be as small as Tello.
As small as aspire to be as tiny as Tello eventually may be, But I guess I think that's a cool market space. We see enough SUV or the Blazer effect. How cool would it be? Yeah, that's pretty hatchy. How cool
At
would
least
it
they
be?
got their charge ports in the right place.
But that's all that matters.
Right.
I would like to see more hatchbacks. That I feel like that can help move a lot of people over to EVs as well. I know we got the SUV effect and we got at least one big name truck out there, and then sedans galore are everywhere, but a nice hatchback. I guess I'm talking about this. I didn't think about it like that. I was thinking more like the e-Golf or
You guys had like a whole podcast without me about the EX30. I'm surprised I'm reminding you about it now.
because my headspace wasn't in Volvo. I was just thinking like what would be a cool.
It's the same gear shifter in the Polestar 4.
Why hasn't Honda put out like an EV Civic?
They put out the Prologue, in which that thing is just
Put
a
out.
reskinned version of the Blazer.
Yeah.
So
I feel like Honda's leaving a lot of money on the table by not doing an EV Civic.
maybe
I
right
don't
now
think you can start there. I think that's where you work your way to as you scale up and as you have more and more supply chains in place and as you're ramping up cells. And once you can get margins lower, that's when you can start making the Corollas and the Civics. But I don't think you can just start with the cheapest possible model.
But the Legacy Auto has
be
the
profitable.
money. They have the
they may have the money, but then you look at the price for the new Dodge Charger, and the
No,
thing
thank you.
costs like around $60,000 or $70,000.
Yeah, but it's a Dodge Charger. Like,
Yeah.
who's anyway?
I look at the Bolt. I think that's kind of an example of a legacy automaker doing exactly what you're describing. Let's make a hatchback and let's make it super affordable and cheap. And obviously it wasn't profitable, and they couldn't make it charge all that fast, so it just wasn't a great compelling option. Didn't outsell the Model 3, even though it cost much less. So I think that's a good indication that you kind of have to start on a more premium segment to get the
I guess I'm
margins
looking
where they
for
need
my
to be.
version of an iPhone Mini Pro. I just want that for the EV space. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
That would be
All right.
nice.
What am I-
So Tella, when am I getting my Mini Pro? You know, I think Tella might have the capabilities of doing that. I don't know.
Hmm.
Oh, I get it. Wink,
Good
wink, nudge,
call.
nudge. Yeah.
I think the
I
closest
see all
thing
the
I
I
can
see all the duct tape behind you on your whiteboard. I get it. You can't talk about it. Yeah.
No, I'm ready. I feel like the marketing guy should get his
Go first.
soon because I have to make videos about it. Why does the engineering team need those things? What are they gonna do? They're not gonna bring in orders. Come on.
But the marketing guy, boom.
Yeah, I gotta sell people on this thing. What is that? What the heck?
What the hell is even that?
Well, to point out what you're looking for something that's cheap and a little bit small and hatchy and sporty. This is what BMW's coming up with their 3 Series vision for
That
an
looks
EV.
terrible.
Well,
It
first of
does.
all, it's a concept. Second of all, it's BMW. So is it
Color's
supposed to look
disgusting. The shape
very
is
beautiful?
disgusting.
They got the weird beaver thing going on with the iX and all that. So who knows what the 3 Series is going to look like eventually. But
They've got the EV3 in the works.
yeah, from Kia.
Is that the? I was like, that looks like.
The Kia
Is that
EV3
the
is very similar to the EX30 in terms of
size? So it's a smaller EV6.
Well, I was
Or
gonna
no,
say
bigger EV6.
shape from the side angle
Yeah.
or the 3/4 view in the back. The lighting's different, of course, because different brands and different design language. But
It's kind of more similar to an EV9 in my opinion, but
yeah,
just shorter. Yeah.
they cut off a row.
Mhm.
So my wife told me this past week, in passing, because something passed us, she goes, I'm gonna say something, don't judge me. I'm like, oh, here we go. And she's like, because it just drove right by us. She goes, yo, I kind of mess with the ID4. Looks kind of nice. I was like, no, no, don't do this.
It is nice. I enjoyed it when I drove it.
And you can win races to the top of Pikes Peak.
That's not no, it's totally different. Remember, we debunked that. It wasn't.
No,
even,
well, it's still an ID4. Doesn't matter what it's an ID4.
No, it's not.
It was not an ID4. That was the most custom version of.
All right,
race.
hey, I mean that's aftermarket stuff. But at the end of the day, it's
It's like you're taking a V8 out of a Mustang and putting it into something that looks like a skeleton and saying, "Oh yeah, it goes like 190 miles an
this
hour."
is America. You could do what you want with your vehicles. It's fine. But that was an
Obviously,
ID4.
Mustang still.
I bet if you ran the VIN on that actual build, it would come up ID4.
I should check back in with my old 4th grade teacher who had the ID4. I should see how he's liking it after all these years. It's been like 4 years since we did that video.
Ooh.
Hmm.
Why she get like the buzz, the
Don't get the
buzz.
buzz.
I love the buzz so much.
Nope.
I love that the center console is removable. You can just pull it out.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. That is kind of cool.
It's pretty sweet. I like the sliding doors. Sliding doors are overhated.
Overhate it.
Well, when they cover up the
I know what I said.
charging port,
Nope.
kind of becomes an issue. Oh, cool. Zooming
Well-
in, I think.
It just mocked you.
Pretty much.
You plug it in first.
And then you open the door and damage the.
I'm in the front. I'm driving the thing.
Yeah.
I don't open the sliding door.
No, when
got-
you're plugging in and then you go to grab something inside and the sliding door slams into the charging plug.
I
Or
haven't
on the
seen
other
it
side.
slam.
What do you mean by slam?
Like I haven't seen someone plug it in, charging it, and then open the door and have the
Well,
door.
what do you
hit
mean by what?
I saw this in person at the car show in San Jose or Santa Clara or whatever. And then also there's other photos and videos of, the door covers the charging port. So you just
That's
can't
different.
open the door.
There's the door covering the charge port. I haven't seen the door like slam into the cable plugged into it.
Well, of course, if it's a manual door, not motorized door, some adult or kid is going to open it full force and it's going to slide right into the plug or right
I'm
into
pretty
the
sure it's
handle.
motorized.
Even still, it's a motor trying to open into a charging handle.
I'm saying I think that it stops before it would actually hit it, but I don't know. We'll have to review one.
Is this why we haven't been together on an EV podcast for about a month? It just, I don't like this.
Hey,
Ew.
it's got a flat back.
Okay,
I'm
maybe
just
they
trying to get
fixed it finally.
Thank you. See,
Boom. Look at
They
that.
fixed
feel
it,
like-
and okay, I'll give it its dues. That all right, sliding.
we're
door
not that
plate.
smart. It's not like no one at Volkswagen was aware that that was a real thing. I'm sure it's a possibility
Hey,
to say
engineering
like, hey, if
oversights happen, Drew.
they do, but then they are talked about and addressed if the company's decent. And I think Volkswagen, given their paying Rivian for their zonal architecture, knows a few good ideas.
Yeah. Also with public charging stations, they probably have some good ideas with those, right?
Iona.
No, I'm talking about Electrify America.
That was a settlement. That wasn't
Still
their idea.
VW.
They were forced to do that.
It's still VW.
Hmm.
Oh,
Well, you'd probably have the best chance of Electrify America working with a Volkswagen vehicle.
really? I feel it wasn't there a few news stories back in the day where the Mustang Mach-E was having a better time connecting to Electrify America rather than the ID4? At least navigating to and the vehicle to charging system language.
It wouldn't surprise me, but I think that they've improved on it. Like, I don't think Volkswagen's backing out on EVs like Toyota kind of is, but they seem invested, but have the occasional skill issue.
This is what's supposed to be in the Bay Area.
Ah, that looks
This
clean.
beautiful machine.
Dang.
Anyways,
Whoa.
what?
Just the angled display is like, whoa, it's really slanted over. Man, they're very proud of that central button, the play pause button.
They like it.
They put that everywhere. I don't like it. That's where my drinks go. I don't need controls down there.
Yeah. Well, how has your car been, Drew? It seems like you were going through a very rocky situation for like 2 months pretty much with the thing. Has anything else happened to it, or have you been mostly on solid ground with it with a lot of your travels?
The warranty expired.
Congrats. Welcome to the club.
So random. I don't know why. Just one day I woke up and it said, you've passed 50,000 miles. And I was like, what? Yeah, very weird. But I turned off FSD. I don't even use autopilot. And it's great. I love it. I just use cruise control now. And
Same. I did the exact same thing.
efficiency is decent, even in the heat, even with the winter tires. But it's not as big as a range hit as I thought it was going to be. But yeah, every time I get in it, I keep going, this is really kind of all I need. This is kind of perfect. If I were to, heaven forbid, get in some kind of accident and it was totaled, I'd replace it with a Model 3. I don't think there's anything else that would fit my use case better at this point, other than an Aptera, but we're waiting on that.
Or Tello.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Well,
Rivian.
as far as like road tripping and commuting, I want the most efficient thing possible. And right now, it would be a close call, not really a close call. If we're just purely saying efficiency, that's a pretty close competition between the cheapest Model 3, which is the trim I always wanted, the long range rear wheel drive, and the Lucid Air Pure, but that one's so stinking expensive that I couldn't afford it. But that would probably push me to the Model 3. It's got NACS, which I care about. I can access the superchargers, and I've test driven one. It was awesome. Lucids are really cool. They're just out of my price range. So I've just come to really appreciate sedans after car camping with it and driving so much with it. It's like, dang, this is this is the car for me. But I'm not as into the whole I need a hatchback, I need more storage space, because genuinely we've not really run into a situation that I can imagine where it was like, oh, I wish my car had more space in the back. It's just
You haven't
it's
ran
a
into
nice
a
to have.
situation yet.
It's
Exactly.
it's been 2 years, so I'm still waiting. I don't know how many years have to
Hey,
go
it was
by.
over 4 years for me until I realized I needed a bigger space than a 3 just to load up, my kids' everything. I was like, oh, that's not enough.
Yeah,
It was-
maybe my opinion will change if I have a child, but at this point it's not happening. So
In this
until that day
economy,
comes,
don't have a child in this economy. Oh no.
Having it in the
the
next
economy
20
was so much better 2 years ago.
It's that meme. Is like tres leches in this economy. Yeah.
No, I honestly, I think the only thing that would suit me better at this point would be an Aptera. Like 80-90% of my driving would be in that, which is why it's funny that we still hypothesize all of these edge cases. What if I want to haul around this, or what if I want to haul around that? What if I need more space or more range? And it's like 80-90% of my driving is like me and one other person driving to a friend's house, driving to a family member's house, picking someone up from the airport. And it's like we talk about all of these edge cases, and yet a 2-seater auto cycle could really cover the vast majority of my driving, and it would do it with far less energy with the solar charging. So I'm pestering Chris McCammon all the time. He's probably sick of me. I'm just like, so what's happening now? What's going on? I'm abusing my power.
Have we
Full
talked?
swing.
I don't think we've talked on the podcast about Aptera's recent change, at least with their drivetrain, right?
I guess Randy and I talked more about the price. I don't think we talked much about the powertrain, but I never got to hear Mike's thoughts on the switch to the onboard motor.
So, if I'm understanding this update correctly, is that the motor is now inside the vehicle, no longer outside the vehicle, and they're going
Correct.
to have some type
We
of
have the pictures of it.
connection. Okay, if you have a picture, that'd be helpful as well.
So you couldn't have talked to a better person about this.
Not
because
Aptera people.
Not to brag or anything, but I've known about this change for quite some time.
Okay, brag about it.
Brag about it. Exactly. I did a video on it. I'm trying to find where I put the B-roll. They were aware that the Alafe hub motors were not going to be ready for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
And they had decided on the best solution. They had a plan B from the beginning. If you recall, the original, oh yeah, that's not Safari. The original Aptera 2E that they were going to make in the early 2000s. This was a hybrid, by the way, but you can tell by the overall shape, it's not really that different. It's still a 3-wheeled auto cycle. I mean, they changed the window design a little bit. They've tweaked it to make it better with the solar version, but obviously these prototypes that drove around and functioned did not have hub motors, clearly. No. So from the beginning, they've known it's possible to do drive shafts and have an onboard motor. This was not just a mock-up. These things drove around and functioned. But yeah, they knew for a while that the Alafe motors weren't going to be ready in time. So they switched to plan B, which was to use an off-the-shelf, already existing electric vehicle motor that's already in 1 million different EVs on the road today.
Mm-hmm.
It's affordable. It's actually lighter than the hub motors were going to be. And it results in less unsprung weight. So actually, of all the things going on with the Aptera, as far as I was concerned, the hub motors were the most sketchy, in my opinion. I talked to several people about them, about the vehicle and using the hub motors, and there was a lot of pushback in the community. There wasn't as much logistics arguments when it came to, okay, we get it, a vehicle that is like a teardrop on wheels. This is probably going to be pretty aerodynamic. You can throw it in simulations, you can throw it in Air Shaper and be like, yeah, the coefficient of drag is kind of hard to argue with. This is pretty aero friendly. Same thing with the kind of the solar cells on it is like, yeah, you can put out 700 watts of solar, and you can see how many kilowatt hours that brings in. But a lot of pushback in the community was like, there's not really a ton of vehicles on the road with hub motors. It's not a very common thing. Alafe is a very young startup company as well. They don't have a ton of motors out on the market as is. So there's not a ton of data to suggest what goes on when you put a motor on, the unsprung part of the vehicle, meaning it's not protected by suspension. So every pothole, you're shaking that motor a lot harder and a lot more than you would if it was on board. So like Rivian Mike, for example, who has an Aptera on order, was like, yeah, the hub motors are a little weird to me, because if you lose power in one, now the whole thing has to shut off, because you can't really drive it with just the right wheel. It would be sketchy. It would be weird. And with the hub motor design, each wheel would have to have its own inverter, and you also have to run high voltage wiring to bless you, to each wheel. And the whole fiasco they had with that CNBC interview, where they were having the motors overheat when they went uphill, that was purely because they didn't feel like hooking up the coolant lines. Obviously, once the coolant lines are hooked up, it can drive uphill all day, no problem. But because there's so many coolant lines to run, because there's 3 separate motors, they didn't have them hooked up for that particular day, which of course was a mistake. It made them look really bad. So they were like, don't do that again. That was a bad idea. So the prototype, the Gamma prototype that you sat in and the one that I drove, that did have hub motors, but like you could straight up see the high voltage wiring. It was like someone could basically walk by one in a parking lot, and if they really wanted to, could kind of cut at them or whatever. So personally, I was a little worried about the hub motors anyway. So that's why I was super thankful and super grateful that they announced they had switched over to the onboard motor. I got to find the renders. They tweeted them out. If you go to their
I found from their video where the motor is located, in which
I don't think that's their vehicle though.
Well, it's in some other vehicle, but it's probably going to be the same location in the Aptera. I think my concern is, well, I guess having a drive shaft outside the vehicle isn't really a new thing, because it's in trucks. You see them underneath them going the length of the vehicle, rather than the width of the vehicle. But the idea that there's now a drive shaft coming out from the vehicle through an exposed port, hopefully that they've got some weatherproofing or at least some crafty design bodywork to avoid having stuff go into the vehicle. But along with that, it's an exposed drive shaft then going to a wheel that is bouncing up and down a lot more. I guess still nothing
like
new.
Any car.
Nothing new for any. Well, it's protected in terms of for any regular car, because it's inside the wheel well and or more inside the vehicle. I guess that's something I just have to look into more. But the idea that if you get into a crash, now you have to replace the whole entire hub wheel system and the struts, and now a drive shaft as well, I guess, versus a whole entire motor and everything else. Maybe it is less expensive.
I was going to say, regardless, it'd be cheaper to replace a drive shaft than a motor.
I guess the repair is something that I'm a little bit more concerned with, because now you're going to have to relink a new drive shaft, which means you have to get into the bottom of the vehicle or the top of the vehicle. However, they're going to allow you to get in there easily through the bonnet or whatever. And that's, I guess I'm more curious rather than worried.
Yeah, I would argue this is probably much easier to repair, because it's an off-the-shelf component, not a custom motor from a young startup. And now you don't have to route high voltage wiring and coolant to the wheel pant. You just have to, you're going to have to add stuff regardless. You got a steering rack, even if there was magically no drive shaft. There's going to be stuff to repair if one of those wheels shears off. But I think it's better that you don't lose a whole motor if that does happen.
Right. Yeah, I agree. That's something that would definitely up the cost for repair.
Yeah.
So there's the pros and cons. So would then for you, Drew, you'd prefer something of what the launch editions are like then, with the motor on the inside of the vehicle and drive shafts sticking out, and though it's less weight and you no longer have a powered back wheel, you just have 2 powered front wheels that do all the work for the vehicle.
If you go back and watch my Aptera reservation video, I never wanted all-wheel drive. I always think that's overrated. People don't pay enough attention to tires and assume that they just need a motor on each wheel or whatever to get decent traction control. And I'm like, I don't think it's as efficient. So my original Aptera reservation was front wheel drive. So it's actually more in line now with what I reserved in the first place than the original launch edition was. But I don't think they did still say that there's a plan to offer all-wheel drive in the future, but that it's more likely going to be one very low-powered motor in the rear that you basically just use for cruising at highway speed. Because maintaining speed on the highway doesn't really take much. It's a fairly low power output. So if they could basically disconnect that front motor or turn it off and switch to just using a really low powered rear motor, you could have very, very low energy consumption at highway speed.
Okay. Is this something that maybe you were also clued into, Randy, that you thought was something of a concern or something that is maybe for the better?
Well, until I heard you guys talk about it, I never even thought about that. Like the issues that it makes sense that like if something was to happen to one, then the whole thing is now compromised with like mobility like that. It's not that it's a design flaw, but it's a design flaw. So
I would just try to remind people, like, imagine this is a normal sedan with wheels in a typical position.
Yeah.
If something hit the Aptera hard enough to shear off that whole wheel pant, what would happen in a normal sedan?
Whole body work. But
I mean, the whole thing would be totaled.
Yeah, right.
You would smash it in half, basically. And I like in this thing, okay, you lose the wheel. I guess it's wider than a typical sedan, so you could argue that maybe it's more prone to losing the pant.
Your wheel's sitting all the way out there, just ready to get hit accidentally.
But I mean, the main body being narrower. I mean, there's a lot of vehicles on the road that are wider than that main body, and if they got hit at that same velocity, I mean, that wheel and everything around the car is going in. That would be a total
loss. Agreed.
Yeah, it'd be, like there's bad collisions all the time, but I don't think
it's almost like Aptera has a how would I describe that? Like it's modular, and like how phones, like, oh, something is broken, compromised, you could just the piece instead of like the whole thing being ruined. It's more compartmentalized, is what I'm trying to say. It's like it's more isolated.
Yeah,
the Titanic ain't sinking just because this one part got wrecked by some ice.
They mentioned that in their investor webinar that they're trying to make it as easy to repair as possible and have as little points of failure.
For EVs, baby. Let's go.
He said some crazy stat. I'm trying to remember. He said something like, one of the most common failure points in vehicles today is switches and latches and like controllers for buttons and doors. And the Aptera has like 3 switches in the interior.
Wow.
And I was like, what? How is that possible?
Compare that to the Grenadier that came out recently. I forget what the company name is, but it's got like switches that go up the whole entire ceiling pretty much. It's insane. I'll get a photo of it, but it's just
very simple.
So many failure points in which, even though that you're not using all those switches all the time, it's another thing that you have to note on, need to get that fixed, need to get this fixed.
Right.
Just like how I am right now with my Model Y. Oh, the suspension on the front right needs to get fixed. Oh, and then this door panel needs to be replaced. Oh, and then it just keeps on stacking up. So
even when you buy an entire new set of tires, it'll be cheaper.
Yeah.
Speaking of new tires, I did something this past weekend.
Did you copy me, Randy?
No.
Because I also got new tires.
Wow.
Okay, what brand though? What did you get? What type?
I forgot. Let me look it up.
It's
been a
broke
long month.
the norm for the first time in my vehicle's history. I do not have Michelin noise suppressing Model 3 tires or whatever. I just got some normal tires from it's called like Continental,
Mhm.
and it's like a centimeter wider than the last one I had, which technically would be worse on performance, but it's not. It would not be noticeable. But the beauty of this one is that I was even looking at the treading of it just to understand more about it. It's designed in such a way to really handle the all weather elements, specifically navigating through snow and stuff like that. He thought I was like, "Oh, you're gonna take your car into the mountains and go off road?" I'm like, not with this thing. No, it's a pillow princess. The Model 3 ain't doing none of that. It is just help me avoid potholes where I can and get me through snow. I drive very, very little. I live in this box for work. Like I'm not driving much. And if my wife takes the car, she just drives 5 minutes down the road and back to the base, so it's not an issue. So I got not the cheapest tires, but I got the most affordable for what I was looking for,
Mhm.
and they running nice and smooth. My tread was wearing very down. I was like, oh, I had not replaced my tires since before leaving San Diego, so it had been a very long time. And the first thing I noticed as I was driving, I was listening for, I was like, oh, I can hear the road more now. Like the styrofoam in the tire did make a little bit of a difference. It's not noticeable in actual like driving if you're listening to music or an audiobook or talking to people, or if the window's down, But like if you're just driving and turn off the AC and like, shh, be quiet, be quiet. Oh yeah, I hear it. I hear the road. But if you got the AC on, you got music playing, or you're talking to people, you don't notice it. So I paid with a little extended warranty, whatever, with discount tire. I paid $1,000. I was like, you know what?
Hey, that's what I paid for my new tires.
Yeah, I was like, I'm
Y'all
okay
paid
with $1,000.
$1,000?
Yeah, I paid 1,000, and I was like, that's okay. So tires are expensive, especially
Mhm.
for specific vehicles. And I didn't get the exact same everything I had before, because before I always had the Michelin with the styrofoam soundproofing thing. And I think that would have cost me what, $1,400 maybe. So I was like, save me a couple $100, and I bought the discount tire warranty. So I was like, all right, that was like $100. I was like, all right, that's good enough.
I still can't figure out how I'm supposed to rotate the tires in the Aptera.
Yo, okay, so that's true. That's true.
I
Are
think
they
I'm
all
just
the
gonna
same
not
type
do
of
it.
tire?
Yeah.
Okay.
He said, I think Jason said in one interview that they experimented with doing different sizes to maximize efficiency, but they found out that it didn't
because the
result in any
wear on the
difference.
middle one in the back is going to be much different than the ones on the sides. So yeah, you'd probably just switch the left and the right. In the middle one, you just keep as is, I guess. Yeah, that'll be an
I don't know.
interesting problem.
It'll be
Similar.
fun.
So I also got my tires replaced as well, Randy. I had a leak on the front right tire, and
Ooh.
it was so bad to where I'd fill it up to 40, 41 PSI or whatever in the morning.
Yeah.
By the evening, it was already down to about 20.
Oh my god. Oh.
It was
Pretty
a
bad.
big screw, and I kept on looking
Oh.
every single morning, couldn't find it. And so I finally scheduled a America's Tire not reservation. Anyways, appointment. Went there, and of course, the one time I go out with the America's Tire associate, it's plain as day right there on the top of the tire.
Okay, I'm following the screw. It's right there.
It was so
Turn.
embarrassing. Anyways, he tried. So I had Michelin's before, and these were the ones, if you recall, I forget how many episodes ago, I did like a sound test between the wheels that I had, the ones that they tried selling me on, and then the ones I ended up with being the
America's.
Michelin with the foam in them or whatever. And
Yeah.
you could definitely tell, like you said, the foam does make a difference inside these EVs. Whether you've got double pane or single pane windows or anything like that, or any sound dampening.
Oh,
on
those
the
are a
interior.
joke. Made no difference to me.
Okay. Anyways, they tried selling me on Michelin's again, but they said, yeah, these ones are very good for like racing around. Like they've got great grip. You could also go off road with them if you want as well. They got amazing grip. I'm like, I'm not really going off road. I'm not doing much sporty driving.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else here? And they're like, well, actually, we've got some Pirellis that have the sound dampening foam and are a little bit more efficient to where you're going to get a lot more mileage out of it and a lot more range. Yeah. And so the ones I got, I think they're the Scorpions.
Scorpion 2. That's
Yep.
the new one. You got the Scorpion 2s. I was looking at those.
And there we go. So I got the Scorpions. They were a little bit pricey, but I think less pricey than the Michelins. I guess the place that I went to didn't have too many options.
So go ahead. Wait, finish your thing.
I was going to say it costs a little bit more than your 3, about $700 more than what your 3's tires cost.
Yeah.
But the more hilarious part of it is they said to be done like in an hour because they're busy that day.
Yeah.
And so I think actually that day Drew was streaming about something. And so I was tuning in on his stream while I was
That's
walking
not
around.
saying much. Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was a tech.
What's up,
talk,
guys? I'm here in my garage with my new Lamborghini.
So funny enough, I walked around because the America's Tire that I was at was nearby an auto mall where you've got a whole bunch of different dealerships. Sure. I went across because Honda was there. I see a Cybertruck there. And it wasn't a customer's. It had a price or not price tag, but it said like ask about price inside or whatever. So someone took their Cybertruck to this Honda dealership and traded it in for a Honda.
Wow. Wow.
In which unfortunately I don't have the photo on me right now, but I thought it was the most
Wow.
hilarious thing. I got to check out the Prologue and then walked over to Volvo, checked out the C40 and the XC40, and then got to sit inside a Cadillac and all that. Anyways, did this for like 40 minutes or whatever. Came back to America's Tire after checking out all these different EVs. And the car was still in the same spot. It didn't move. Wow. And so I thought, okay, maybe it's been really busy. So I sat down and then one of the sales, or I guess America's Tires associates came over and said, I'm sorry, sir. We put your tires on the wrong Model Y. I said, what? And they said, we have a lot of Model Ys in today, and it was a midnight silver metallic. Well, he said gray. There's a gray one that looked exactly like yours. We put your tires on theirs. We're taking them off right now. We'll put.
No one says midnight silver.
Yeah, we'll take them off right now. We'll get your car and we'll put the tires that you paid for on it, and we'll get you out of here in the next like 20 minutes or whatever. And I wasn't mad. I was just laughing to myself that there were so many Model Ys here in the Bay, and specifically at this America's Tire that day, that they just didn't know which Model Y it was that they're putting the tires on. So they just put my tires on someone else's. It was
yet
funny.
Again, another problem you wouldn't have in an Aptera. Everyone
they
would
wouldn't know what to do with that vehicle.
Or a matte green Model 3.
That's easy to delineate.
Even
I
in
had
the
the
Bay,
same. I had the same thing. How dare they? I hate the Bay now. So they asked me saying like, "Where's your car at?" Because it was very busy, and I was like, "It's the only matte model green Tesla you will find outside." Okay, so a couple things. One, America's Tire in California is the same company as Discount Tire throughout the rest of the country. I found out, and then the Discount Tire that's in California is not affiliated with the Discount Tire outside of California. So
that makes sense.
That was really weird to me because I was like, how come you don't have my information on my tires? Last time I put my tires on, it was at a Discount Tire in San Diego. And they're like, oh. And then he was like, oh, that's not us. That's another company that we couldn't get them to change their name. And only in California. California has Discount Tire that's not affiliated with us, but the other 49 states were fine. And then, like in California, what we have is America's Tire. That's the same company. I was like, oh, okay. So that one. Two, the only reason I didn't get the Scorpion 2s is because with the sales associate, he was like all patient with me, and we were just going over everything. He was telling me that they're so new because they just replaced the first gen Scorpion tires. There's no ratings. Like I can tell you what that is, but they're so new. There's no actual feedback or rating. I can't tell you what your actual expectancy with this tire would be
I got
for the
the
price
exact
of it.
same statement.
Yeah. So I was like, he's like, because of that, I mean, I'll recommend it to you if you want to pay that, but I can't give you actual genuine feedback as a, paying customer who we want to have a satisfied experience with. I can't actually recommend it to
There's
you.
no data yet.
So brand new, there's no data. And I was like, okay, then we'll wait. What else you got? And we just went down the list of everything. And so then I ended up with the Continentals, but
they only gave me 2. That's all they had at that location. We got the Michelins that are sporty and they're going to take a hit to your range, and they're louder. They don't have the foam in them.
That's so crazy.
Or go for the ones that have the foam in them that don't have any data on range. Or anything else. I'm like, okay, let's see if these work. And thankfully, these aren't like the weird Michelins that I only had for a couple of miles at that one point. Thankfully, they don't do the weird road thing where they catch onto a groove and then the car violently moves around on the road weirdly.
Interesting.
These are just like the Michelins I had before, or I forget what the original ones I had on with the Model Y that they put on back in 2020. So these have been good, but funny that we both got new tires around the same time.
Yeah, of course, naturally. Mike and I are yin-yanging.
Well, we saw Drew get new tires twice, and we thought, you know what? We also have to get new tires.
Don't do it the way I do it, though.
I shouldn't. Yeah, that's true. No, I should not have. Most likely, I should not have driven cross country with the tires that I had. But
I want to get to the point where it's obvious that I need new tires. I still feel cheated because my last tires were fine. They still had grip on them, even though they had 45,000 miles on them. They were in good condition. So I was
Drew, you're prepared for both winter and summer with the set of tires that you have on right now.
In California. True. Wow, good wintering.
Yeah, I can drive up to the snow and then come back down.
Well, with all the ash falling these days, because California's always on fire, it performs like snow, right? So it's all slippery and dusty.
There's no difference.
Yeah, no difference.
Oh,
but there is a difference in the PSI of the Lucid Gravity. I don't know if you guys can read this.
You are really squinting on these. Is that 92?
Correct.
62. No, 92? I can't.
It says
tell.
92.
Wow.
What? I need glasses. Why?
I'll send you the link.
Why is it not? What vehicles need? Hold on. What's it? Ford F250 PSI rating. 80 PSI. Ford F250's recommended tire pressure.
The owner was just trying to get the PSI to 100%, and they couldn't do it.
Oh my God!
They got as high as they could. They're just like
so awful.
No, I don't know if that's true. This is a prototype, to be fair.
Yeah, we've seen one with 2 charging ports for those that don't know. Or are informed with the news as much. There's one with a NAX port on the back and a CCS2 port on the front.
Correct.
So nothing is certain, but everything is known.
It's still weird, though, isn't it? That even on the prototype that the PSI would be listed that high.
That's a really 92 PSI.
Whew, I'd be afraid to sneeze around those tires.
Sneeze while in the vehicle.
Someone
with the tires on.
Someone like walks by your car and kicks it.
What are these tires?
You run over a ladybug and bam.
You take it off the lot.
I just pictured a ladybug from A Bug's Life. Hey, I'm a guy. Man.
Yes.
92. Jeez.
That's amazing.
I hope that's inaccurate. I hope that was just, but still, again, even if it's a prototype software stack, why would they let it say 92 if that was not what the actual PSI is going to be? I mean, Lucid.
We're reading it in reverse. It's supposed to say 29.
That's way too low.
That's even worse for a SUV. Are you off-roading with this thing? What are you doing?
Maybe.
With the Gravity.
I mean, they have pictures of it off-roading.
They have
posted a
marketing
video.
photos of it off-roading. That doesn't
They
mean
just
that
dropped a
it
video of it.
Marketing.
Is this the road to gravity?
Uh-huh. Proving grounds.
What a
There you go.
name. The road to gravity. This is how we
Oh, not this
invented
one.
gravity.
Stop.
I'm glad that they're getting close on production. That's very exciting, though. I'm very happy that
Yes.
they're getting progress done on something that isn't the Lucid Air. I've been waiting for this for years.
No, I think
Oh, that guy's
they
beard
keep
is
calling it
really stellar.
there you go, off-road video.
Sir, that is a dirt road. That's not off. I mean, yes, that is not paved. That's not
that was
paved.
literally that was off ground.
So it's
That was
defying
literally
gravity.
off the road.
It's defying gravity. The gravity's defying gravity. Wonderful.
So this is an off-road, Mike.
Okay, that's a little bit more off-roady. Okay.
They said at that little presentation, I don't know why they didn't publish everything from it, but they mentioned that the air suspension pushes it up to 10.5 inches of ground clearance.
That's not bad.
Which is pretty good. So
wow.
Yeah, I think they should have started with this, to be honest with you.
Well, that's what.
Go ahead.
I agree and disagree. I think starting with the Air was a. I'm gonna.
Mike, is it Wednesday already?
It is, my dudes.
Dudes.
Dude's great. What was I gonna? Oh, I'm glad that they started with the Air because they had to figure out all their hilarious ideas and bumbling around with what they want as a product and their design. And they explored every corner that they could with that vehicle, which is great and all. But to take everything that they learned and apply it to an SUV and make it a killer product is probably the better approach than to start with an SUV and then throw that all into a sedan that in the market that we're in right now, no one's really buying it.
That's why I just would skip the sedan. I wouldn't do it before or after. And I'm a big fan of sedans, but I'm just saying profitability wise, I think you could have explored all of that with the SUV and then not have as big a demand problem as they have now. But they got Saudi money. They'll be okay. They got another $1.5 billion last week, I think.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm convinced. Honestly, I've changed my mind on Lucid. I think they'll be fine. I'm not worried about.
Because they keep on getting money from Saudi. Yeah.
Why would the Saudis stop investing at this point?
Maybe something else came on the market that's a lot more interesting, or they ran out of oil somehow.
They just don't
or local government changes occurred, or local politics
they've got
occurred.
Tons of money, even if they stop selling
local
oil.
Politics occurred. Yeah, politics happened. Who knows? But at least with them being able to build their empire off the wonderful industry that's oil, I guess if they're making something that is that interesting from an engineering perspective, I'm all right with it in a way. But I'm really hoping to go ahead.
That Saudi money could have gone to, yachts, or it could go into new technologies, and they decided to dump it all on a really efficiency focused American electric vehicle brand. I'm like, okay, if that money had to go to something, that's that's more interesting to me than blowing it on I don't know, just new hotels ideas or some new AI product that no one's gonna remember. Like, this is
hey, you leave friend out of this.
I'm gonna put it around my neck here, but I'm sorry, Randy. I know I'm offending you right now.
Yeah, you are.
He's crying for those listening. He looks just destroyed by the fact that the gravity exists or something like that.
His face is in his palms right now.
Yeah, I'm just disappointed
that they're still alive. Why?
Oh my God!
Because they're artificially alive. How do you define alive? Just because
sounds like you're jealous is what you are.
No, it just we're playing God with cars.
I'm like, hey, the a lot of the automotive industry is propped up by subsidization and unions or whatever, government bailouts. I'm like, governments get involved in automotive brands all the time. This just
Yeah, but
happens
the
to be a really rich one.
hypocrisy with the oil-rich
I don't think it's
Saudis.
hypocrisy. I don't think it's hypocritical.
Well, it's definitely not American funded.
No, but what is at this point?
Tesla,
Your company that you work at?
Aptera.
I don't recall getting money from the government. Got money from investors, but I'm just
Which
saying,
is
like,
American money.
but why does it matter? Like the Saudis know that the oil is finite. That's why they're investing in trying to make their governments outlast oil. So they're trying to bring, in industry and economy, and that's why UAE has also spent a ton of money on trying to make Dubai a tourist destination.
Randy,
that people
he's
don't
defending
go there.
oil billionaires.
He does. and he's defending the Saudis of all people.
I'm not saying that all of the money is like ethically sourced. I'm just saying if it's gonna be spent, regardless,
got
I'd rather
blood
it be
money
spent
on
on
your
something
hands.
like Lucid.
Blood money on your hands. Man, those guys
Dude,
jacking up
if it didn't go to Lucid, where do you think it would go? It's
I don't
not like
care.
if Lucid didn't exist, they wouldn't sell their oil. Well, like, what's the mindset there?
It's dirty business. It's not clean business. It's dirty. There's an ethical issue somewhere in there. There's something there's something
somewhere in there.
There's something between
I know it's dirty. I'm just saying it's in the process of becoming clean by at least making a highly efficient electric vehicle rather than, that money could have gone into a big billionaire business that makes gas vehicles. It could go back into oil refinery businesses. It could have gone to Chevron, could have gone to Shell. Now, I mean, billions go to those big oil companies. There's just a few billion going towards zero emission all electric company.
It's like maybe a percentage of all these billions or a fraction of a percent of all these billions is being thrown over to Lucid, and there you go. I feel like it's a conflict of interest at the end of the day. I don't know. What if the Saudis just straight up all in on EVs and help accelerate the transition? You know what I mean? Like, not a little money here, a little money there. And I get it. That's where they make the richest people, period, are those industries and all that, generational oil being passed down in the family line. But I feel it feels so hypocritical that, finite or not, when it runs out, if we get to that point, we'll be gone. It's not our generation that's going to see that, nor maybe even the next generation. Whatever after Gen Alpha was it Gen Bravo?
I don't really know how much oil there really is, and I genuinely don't care because I just don't think we should be.
There's a lot. That's the whole. Isn't that the whole pitch with great? We reached the part of the podcast where we talk about politics. Isn't that the whole thing with the with
you brought this up, Randy? You brought this upon yourself.
Listen, the whole shtick about why the GOP is saying no to this whole accelerating transition to EVs is because oil is plentiful, because we have a lot of it in North America. We're the largest exporter of oil, but we don't use our own oil because of the whole trade relations that we have overseas. So we could theoretically just get the oil from Alaska and we'd be okay and we'd be fine, self-sustained. But that's not.
I don't think you should burn things if you don't need to.
Well, but that's my point, though.
Same reason we don't let people like burn their garbage in their backyard.
Oh man,
Tell that to California.
On
burning the whole state every summer.
On the East Coast, that was the weirdest mind blow. That I'm like, people literally burn their trash in their yards, but because everything's always so humid and wet, that the fire doesn't spread. But I just see these controlled fires in people's yards, just burning stuff.
It's
And
not
I'm like,
that's how I look at gas cars. It's like you don't need to be burning that. That's not
yeah,
necessary.
but my point is
There's
that
better
like
ways to power vehicles.
yes, but the Saudis ain't all in on it. Obviously, that's not the bread and butter. It's the oil.
It is
always been
now,
the
but
oil.
they're investing in the long-term future. They're trying to. I'm not saying they're all clean and ethical. I'm not. I mean, don't act like America is either. We got bad blood money everywhere. I'm just saying that I'm grateful that that money, regardless of how it was obtained, is being used for an electric vehicle brand instead of
The
destroying
ends
Georgia.
justify the means, Drew.
No, I'm saying the means happen regardless. The means are unavoidable. Like
The
they're going to
means
sell
are
oil.
unavoidable.
There's there's demand for oil, even with an all electric vehicle fleet. You know, even if every car on the road was electric, there would still be
Oil's
demand
never
for oil.
gonna go away because we like. I don't see it like we're gonna have electric rockets. That's not or electric planes.
Electric
I don't think-
rockets exist. It's just not in the
No.
way that you think.
Yeah, I'm
Well, there's-
talking about literal like
Like-
SpaceX. SpaceX
Like
is
blasting
is
off
always going to
from
be
the surface of Earth.
No,
No,
I mean,
that's not a thing.
even Elon agrees with you on that one.
That's what yeah, I mean like oil will always be in
There's a need and a
mankind's-
use for oil and plastics, all kinds of composites and plastics that are used in manufacturing, but those can be recycled, whereas refining oil and burning it can't be recycled. So, and it's also toxic fumes that you're breathing in and make our atmosphere worse. And
Yeah.
also EVs you can plug in and they're cheaper and yada yada. So there's just, I'm like, regardless of how much oil there is, I think it's a good idea to invest in, you know, companies that are trying to make more efficient.
But not lucid. That's the point. Not lucid.
I gotta give them credit.
Let
They got the most
Lucid.
efficient vehicle on the market, Randy.
It's incredible engineering that they put into these vehicles.
you guys are blinded by your lust for efficiency.
Do you not like efficiency, Randy?
I do.
Do you not like having more range?
I do.
There's only one EV on the market that can go over.
But they
500
haven't
miles
fixed
on a charge.
CarPlay, okay?
At least they have CarPlay. Does Rivian?
They don't need it.
Exactly.
I don't think it would hurt to have.
Just have a whatever with the app. Like, I just want Apple Maps. That's what I mean by CarPlay. Just give me Apple Maps.
Lucid
this-
has Apple Maps. Rivian does not. These are the facts.
I'm done with this episode. I am cornered. I am cornered, and I have nothing left to yell at.
You said my favorite words.
Corner?
You have, look at that. Apple Maps.
Oh God. Why?
That's so bad.
It's a square.
Steve
Inside
Jobs
of
is
episode.
rolling in his grave.
I didn't even see anything on that screen.
Steve Jobs would drive a Lucid.
Steve Jobs would not let that ship like
I
that
said
at
it.
all. That's not true. He would drive a Mercedes.
Well, he did drive a Mercedes, but then Lucid would have come around and he'd go, "Oh yeah," because
Something
it's expensive.
Go ahead.
I was going to say Steve Jobs never cared about money. That's why he bought a new Mercedes every 6 months, so he didn't have to pay for the. He didn't.
No,
have
he
to
did
have
it because he's
license plate.
neurotic.
He had
He's
more
just-
money than he knew what to do with, and he cared about little design. Little
With his
details.
no license plate look, like that's the point where you stand out. He was just neurotic.
True, that's a good point.
Yeah.
But think of Peter Rawlinson.
No,
That-
no, I won't.
That man that would have gotten along with Johnny Ive.
Johnny, what do you think Johnny Ive drives right now?
Porsche.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
I don't even know who he is. He's probably driving a Porsche though.
You don't know who Johnny Ive is?
Is he the
Holy
guy that has the
sensitive.
voice like butter?
Yeah,
You have until we start tech podcast to figure this out because this is sacrilegious for you to be like, oh,
Sacrilege. I'm not Nick. I didn't start this podcast. I came in later.
you've had all this time to get brought up to speed. Did you even read the biography of Steve Jobs, the Bible?
Why are we talking about Johnny Ive on this podcast? Wow, that car is smiling.
Dude, no, Johnny
oh,
Ive.
Aston Martin.
That, you know what? Aston Martin.
Bentley.
That's a Johnny Ive vehicle. Yeah. He is a very like
Wouldn't think he would drive this.
I would love to see him
It's a Mr. Bean
be interviewed
vehicle.
about his, vehicle collection. That'd be so. He'd have the coolest stuff because he'd just obsess over all the minutia of it.
Oh, this is a webpage saying what he drove in order. So he drove himself to school in the Fiat 500,
He drove himself in an Italian sports car. Wow. Okay.
and then after that he upgraded
It's a
to
Fiat.
the Frog Eye.
Is
Nice.
it called? No, it is called the Frog Eye. Wow. Oh, it's a Healy.
And then the Aston
Is that his
Martin.
car now? No,
No.
that's not his car now.
That's
No, and then
an old Aston.
Vanquish,
Vanquish is beautiful.
also a 2-door, and then a
I'm
Bentley.
looking forward to Aston hopefully making an electric car at some point.
Bentley.
Land
Wait,
Rover.
what?
Not what I would have expected.
Yeah. Wait, what? This is when he had kids.
Yeah.
This is when he had kids. Yeah.
He said after one of his colleagues in the design studio bought one, he wanted one as well and got one within days.
Wow.
And then back to Bentley.
That's a killer photo with it in the Golden Gate Bridge.
That's beautiful. All
Okay,
right.
now you know.
Now I know.
I feel like he's moved on to something else after that Bentley.
I feel like Lucid is more Bentley, Aston Martin than anything else.
Then Mercedes, Porsche, Audi.
Yeah, he might go Porsche. That's true.
It has to be something European.
True. All right. Is that all? Y'all done?
I'm done.
He's sick of us now.
I'm glad we could all come together for this episode. It
Yeah,
only
very
took
special.
a month.
I'll see you
Anyway.
guys next month. Literally.
Beautiful.
I know what you're talking about.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Take care.